Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Path of Exile 2. Obviously, there's a major patch coming out today, as of the recording of this video. I'm trying to get this out as quick as I can so that it at least comes out before the patch hits. But this is what's supposed to be coming out when the patch comes out later today. So I just wanted to, I'm not going to read down the entire list. It's a ridiculously long list of patches, a long list of changes, which is a good thing. It's good that they're making a lot of changes all up front and trying to just fix a bunch of things as much as possible. You don't watch videos like this if you're watching this video for me to just read down the list. I'm going to give you my perspective on the things that matter to me because I actually have experience with the things that I've highlighted. So I'm going to talk about those as quick as I can because it is kind of a really long list. So we'll go down the list and talk about these things. I've made some notes about what these are. So for the endgame stuff so far, they added 4 new tower maps. They talked about that in the video. More options is good. Variety is always a good thing. So not much specific to say about that other than just having more information is good. So this is all a variety thing. More variety makes games more fun. That's good. Maps now have a minimum of 3 rare monsters, which means you're going to get more loot out of your maps. I haven't really noticed having less than 3 rare monsters in a map personally, but if some people have been experiencing that, that has to suck because the rares are the ones that drop pretty decent loot. More bosses as, all right, sorry. Added Overseer Priest Cursor tablet, which is basically to make it where you can get access to more bosses. So, you know, this is a good thing because it provides you more options in the way of how you want to do your maps, i.e. if you want to fight bosses, this gives you the ability to have a bigger chance of fighting more bosses. That's a good thing. I don't like the other option that we're going to talk about in a minute where bosses are just going to spawn more often in general, but we'll talk about that when we get to that. Map areas have been adjusted to have more distinct specialties for the content that they contain. This basically just means that based off of what kind of map that it is, it's going to specialize in a specific thing. There's a whole list here of things that they're going to focus on more depending on what map it is. So yeah, this will give you more options because you can pick which maps you go to. The map that has more magic monsters or whatever it is that you specifically want to do. This gives you more choice and options and things that how you want to do your stuff. So that's a good thing. It's an actual real option, not the illusion of choice kind of thing. So this is good. Unclaimed hideouts now have substantially more magic monsters and fewer rare monsters. I misunderstood that when I read it. That's actually a really good thing. So I thought that they were talking about adding more rares and making it more difficult. That's actually a good thing. That I've only discovered 1 hideout so far. I didn't notice it being a problem, the number of rares that spawned in mine, but if that's a widespread issue, that's good. Making it slightly less time-consuming and difficult to get into something that's already rare-ish to find anyways, I think that's a good thing. Anything that improves visual clarity is good, so they've improved the highlightability and clickability of shrines. They really need to do something. This is sort of adjacent to Perfect Strike. Definitely need to update the way Perfect Strike targets. We're going to talk about that again later, but yeah, this is a good thing. Anything that makes it easier to click on things and find and see them. I have noticed that getting to a shrine when there's a bunch of mobs and stuff around is a little bit difficult, so this is a good thing for them to update. Okay, so yeah, this right here. Updated the chance for maps to contain bosses. You should be encountering a boss roughly every 1 in 4 maps. The way they wrote that really just messed with my brain. I don't think this is necessarily a good thing. In my experience so far, and the few bosses that I've fought, the loot that I get off of them isn't really worth the extra time it takes for me to fight them. So if they're going to drastically increase the loot and the quality of the loot that drops when you fight these bosses, okay, then, you know, as long as the time I'm investing and the risk of dying to that boss is worth the loot that I'm going to get out of it, I can kind of go along with that. But you know, if bosses are intended to be a difficult thing that you have to fight your way through, they shouldn't be regular things that you have to deal with, especially if you're just trying to clear out maps. So I personally don't agree with this decision. It should be a choice that you make. You choose to go after bosses, and then everything else you're just clearing out maps. That's how I feel about it. Chance for map bosses to drop a waystone of current tier higher has been reduced to and if you didn't increase the number of bosses, then this wouldn't be a problem. I really feel like the bosses should be a rare thing that you do every once in a while, and if you want more access to those bosses, that should be a choice that you make via either the tablets that they're giving you now or you know, Atlas points that you put in there because that's what you want to do. Being forced to fight bosses trying to get through Atlas maps is just I don't don't agree with that philosophy. Reduce the number of monsters and small chests from breaches by 15%. This is a good thing. I've done a couple of breaches so far, and I have felt like I've been kind of getting swarmed under a couple of times that I've done it. So this is definitely a good thing. It's gonna reduce your loot a little bit, but it's also gonna make it so you feel like you're less like drowning in monsters. Increased how far you can zoom the in-game map out to match the controller input. So apparently on console you can zoom out a lot further. That's fine, but we really need to see if the icons scale before I know if this is a good thing, because zooming out is great, but if you can't see what the icons are because they get tinier as you go, then that doesn't really help me very much. You know, I need to be able to see what all the different things are. Skill changes that are listed here, there's only a few, but each of these is going to be specific to your build, and none of the things that they've done here, except for the scavenge plating, applies to me, and I don't really know enough about how my scavenge plating works to really know how this affects it. So I'm not going to try to talk out of my ass on that one. I'm just going to say you can read through this list yourself and see if any of it applies to your specific build, but there you go. Anything that makes clarity a little bit better is good and gives you a chance to kind of mentally prepare is good. So they added a small delay before monsters release from the essences. That's good. Reduce the leap distance of the vile vultures leap. The vultures are super annoying in this game, and it's really good that they decided to like reduce the leap distance. The fact that they can just kind of leap across the screen at you is really irritating. It's also extremely irritating with the twin bosses in Keth. Or in wherever the twin vulture bosses in the second act. They're super annoying. So it's really nice to be able to have that change. This is also another one that really irritates the hell out of me. The axe throwing from the Vow. I don't necessarily mind that they have a long distance. I just don't like the fact that they stun so hard, and they stun so hard, and then there's a big cluster of them, so they always end up stunning you really hard and locking you in place for like almost a second sometimes. It's really frustrating. So I'm glad that they did something about that, but I really think they should take a look at the stun effect on that, because it's a little obnoxious, especially when you're being swarmed by a bunch of stuff. Player targeting for the Colossus. This is a great thing. It's very hard to target things. You can't target the arm anymore. I guess now you can only target his torso. That is a good thing. I have personally noticed that it gets very difficult to place things on the ground that are supposed to affect the boss when it constantly switches from his torso to his hand and back and forth and back and forth. So making it so that this isn't a problem anymore, that's going to make that fight way more consistent. I like that. Adjusted the damaging area of the Sky Seer's tornadoes. That's I believe that's the one of the Chaos Temple bosses. The tornado in that fight is just brutal. So anything that makes that a little bit easier to deal with is good. And it's going to ramp up. It'll at least give you a chance to hopefully burn him down before that tornado becomes something that's just massively damaging. So that's a good thing. Adjusted the damage of the executioner's attacks to more closely match the visual effects, and the telegraphing for his guillotine slam has also been improved. I personally haven't noted any of that to be a problem. The telegraphing for the guillotine slam is pretty reasonable to me, but I fought that boss a bunch of times, so I'm sure for new players it's a little harder to get it. The commando roll for the mighty Silver Fist deals significantly less damage. That's absolutely a good thing. It's really frustrating because that's more or less an instant mechanic that he does that's really hard to dodge out of, so making it so he's not going to one-shot you with that is good. But he has a 3-part swing, slam attack, and the telegraphing for that final slam really needs to be a little bit more clear that's the hit, because he kind of just does this random swing and then another swing that looks the same as his swing, slam attack. So he'll have individual swings that just kind of swing, and it looks like the same swing over and over again. And sometimes it's hard to tell that he's in the middle of his swing, and now I'm bashing you attack. So they really need to upgrade the animation for that and make it more clear that that's what's happening. Walking Goliaths no longer deal damage twice when they fall over, and it's more, and that, yeah, this has been a major problem for me, for some of my characters who are a little squishier, because it's really hard to tell where that damage is going to hit, and you might be standing just off to the side of them, and you still get massive damage from their attack. So I'm glad that they fixed this. This is definitely something that needed to be fixed. Density of monsters in both of these areas being reduced is a good thing. Utsal, there's just a lot of range stuff going on, and a lot of it's chaos, and you know, especially when you're first going through Act 3, you're not going to have a lot of chaos resistance. So having a bunch of chaos damage coming at you, and then there's that little ice thing that spins around and does the little thing, like just reducing the overall density of this stuff is going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot less brutal, especially the first time through the campaign. And then the density of monsters in the Dreadnought being reduced is really good because, yeah, even some of my more powerful characters have struggled to get through the dreadnought sometimes, just because of the swarming that happens, and you don't have room to move around. There's a bunch of clutter around everywhere, so it just makes it really hard to get through it. So reducing the clutter there is extremely important. Volatile plants, anything that adds more, making it more clear that volatile plants are about to explode on you. Anything that adds visual clarity and telegraphing is a good thing. Energy shield modifiers on monsters now provide more sensible levels of energy shield. This is definitely something I've noticed. Anytime I come across an energy shield modified monster, I'm just like, ugh, because you got to fight through this ridiculous amount of energy shield, and then their life bar just goes shoot. So definitely need to make it a little bit more reasonable. Definitely something that needs to be changed. I don't know what the shielding monsters modifier is, because obviously I didn't do the chaos trial before they took this out. So once it comes back in, I'll have a little bit more of an idea of what it is. But if it's something that adds another like just ridiculous option, then we already have enough ridiculous options in there that can make it very difficult to get to the trial. So hopefully this is one of the more sensible options, and it will make it less likely to get a crappy option. We'll see. But the fact that it was removed means that it probably wasn't. I'm not really looking forward to having to go through that. You're able to take your solo self-found character back into a regular league apparently now, which is a good thing. My understanding is that solo self-found has better drop rates, so it would be really nice to be able to just kind of do solo self-found through the campaign when you're not really trying to trade or do anything, and that way you can upgrade your character a little bit better. And then if you want to migrate over to the league once you get to end game, so you can start trading for stuff, it'd be pretty sweet. I think that's how that works. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Strong boxes have been adjusted to spawn waves of enemies. I will learn to speak eventually. Strong boxes spawn enemies over a shorter period of time. That's good. I don't want to have to be standing over a strong box forever. I want to get the strong box, kill the enemies, move on. So anything that reduces the time it takes to get things done, that's a good thing. Visual clarity of monsters spawned by a strong box. I did notice a few strong boxes that I've done. It was very difficult to figure out which monsters I was supposed to kill, because other monsters will come in and like mix in with all of that. And you end up having to just clear the entire screen before you're able to finish that. You're going to do that anyways, but it's just nice to know which monsters are the ones you're specifically going after right now, so that you can hurry up and get the strong box open. Charms play an effect when they're used. I personally always forget that I even have a charm equipped, so it's good that they're going to do this, because hopefully now I'll start to realize how the mechanic works, because I socket it in there and then I forget about it. Socketables such as runes can now be overwritten by placing another socket into it. The problem with this, it's good that they're adding this as an option, but the problem with it is that I'd much rather, like, if I have to choose between overwriting runes that are in there in a piece of gear now, or salvaging a piece of gear and getting those runes back, I'm going to choose the latter, because I have found that some runes I get a lot of this. I get a lot of some types of runes, and I just get almost none of another kind of rune, and it's just really frustrating to have to like sacrifice runes over and over again. I want more runes, so I would prefer if they did both. Make it so that you can overwrite runes on a piece of gear that you really want to keep, and also make it so that if you salvage a piece of gear that has runes in it, you can get those runes back. I think, or maybe get some shard. Maybe they need to create a shard for those, so that at least as you're salvaging socketed items, you're able to get some of that back. So just some kind of something that makes runes more accessible. Quality flasks are now able to be salvaged. That is really great. It sucks to have to just vendor those when they have a quality on them. I'd like to get something out of it, so it's nice that they did that. Armor is supposedly more effective by 15%. We'll see how my warrior feels about that. I'm currently grinding him through the cruel part of the campaign. He's a bone shatter warrior, so I already chose Titan for him to make him a little bit more tough. Hopefully this 15% bump in armor effectiveness will make him a tank, I guess. That's kind of really what I want. Excuse me. More monsters are now able to be pushed while dodge rolling. Generally applies to monsters smaller than a skeleton. This is good, but the problem that I have is that they also need to take a look at the monsters shoving you. In more than one occasion, I've had monsters half my size shoving me across the screen for yards at a time. So, that's unreasonable. So they need to make sure that they're not only just taking a look at the player mechanics, but also the monster mechanics, because something that's half my size shouldn't be shoving me across the room. Something that's my same size shouldn't be shoving me across the room. Only the big guys should be able to do that, and it's really frustrating that this happens. I'm talking about like some of the little armored rolly thingies that like those will push you across the screen a lot. Reduce the chance for items to roll less desirable item modifiers. This is absolutely a good thing. Anything that makes it easier to get better gear is a good thing. Obviously, you don't want to just be given it, but it really sucks when you're constantly getting something that doesn't really help your class. So hopefully that'll help with that. Reduce visual clutter in maps to make it easy to see visibility of skills and effects. That's a good thing, but I really think that they need to do some highlighting of where things are happening. I know PoE 1 had the paintings on the ground, or whatever you want to call it. As much as that kind of kills the visual, as much as that kills the immersion to see big things popping up on the ground like that, if you're a class that's putting a bunch of fire on the ground and stuff, it makes it very difficult to see when the enemy is doing something. So we do need a little bit more of an interface change to make it easier to cut through all the visual clutter and see what's happening. Improve walkability throughout the maps. I have found that there are a bunch of, especially on like the swamp related maps, it can be very difficult to figure out where you can walk, and sometimes you end up cornering yourself because you think you can walk through a spot, and then you can't, and then you have a crap ton of monsters behind you. This right here is probably the most irritating. I don't want to say it's the most, but it's definitely up there in maybe the top 5 most irritating things about the game. Waiting on the world map to load. So hopefully this is actually going to be much shorter, at close to instantaneous, so that we don't have to wait on this, because waiting on the world map to load is super annoying. So I'm really glad that they're finally fixing this. Quest tracker shows quests that are applicable in your area. This will be great for newer players, but if you've gone through the campaign many times like me already, you're not going to really care about that. Charms display a number of charges. Again, that'll help me remember that I even have charms. Maybe I'll start paying more attention to them. Updated world map icons for when you complete the quests. I haven't found this to be a problem, but sometimes they don't gray out when you finish them. So hopefully this will have fixed that. Reduce screen clutter and performance for when you kill a rare monster in in-game maps. I haven't really noticed that to be a problem, but hopefully that helps some people. Right? Yeah, visual clarity is always a good thing. I highlighted it because anything that improves visual clarity is a good thing. Monsters can no longer spawn near close to an entrance of a map. I have not found this to be a problem. I never spawned into a map and been swarmed by monsters. So, maybe this is a widespread problem, but I haven't personally found it to be a problem. So, okay, it's a good thing to make it less likely that you're going to get one-shotted by random crap. But, just wanted to point that out. I mostly highlighted that because I just want to know, is this a widespread problem? I've never encountered it myself. Unique changes to unique items are all going to be specific to your build. So, I don't have any uniques that I'm specifically using in any of my builds that I remember. So just, you'll have to read through this yourself to figure out, because it's a ridiculously long list. As far as bug fixes, the only specific bugs that I'm personally worried about, there's a long list here of things that they've changed. Reading through it, I didn't notice any of them myself, so they're clearly not massive problems. But for me, they just need to clearly identify and figure out whatever this bug is that is causing system-wide lockups. They supposedly fixed it, but then I had a lockup a couple of days after the patch, a few days after the patch that supposedly fixed it, and then I was trying to stream yesterday, and my computer locked up, and I had to stop my stream 30 minutes in because my computer just completely locked up. So they really need to have a person or a team of people that just stop everything that they're doing and go figure out what this problem is, because this is unreasonable. I don't have a problem with my client crashing. If the client crashes, I can just start it back up. But if you're locking up my entire PC because your game is trying to hog all my system resources and it just completely locks everything up, that's something you need to fix, especially since you charged me $30 for it. I understand it's early access, but you charged me money for it, so fix this problem, please. You don't get to take over my entire system. That's not something you get to do. The only other bug related thing is the thing I was talking about with Perfect Strike earlier. It's super frustrating to have an ability that takes a long time to charge up, and you have to stand in place while you do it. And then you take the time, you're focused on it, you release it at the proper time, and then it goes off to the side. Even though you have the cursor pointed at the enemy, for whatever reason, it just kind of goes off to the side. Or if you don't have the passive, the talent tree passive that makes you always hit with no criticals, you miss, right? And I've even found that even with that, sometimes I still miss. So it's extreme for something that it requires that risky of an investment, it needs to always hit. There always needs to be a payoff for that. There should never be a point where I stand there for a couple of seconds charging that ability up, and then that gets completely wasted because you're having to stand there, you're having to take whatever damage you're getting dealt. It needs to hit. So they need to fix the targeting for that because it's super frustrating. Many times I have my cursor on the enemy and it still misses, and it's really frustrating. So that needs to be fixed. But the rest of these bug fixes are all going to be specific to specific situations, and I haven't noticed any of these. So, you know, I don't play with controller, and I also don't play on console, so I'm not going to have anything specific for any of these. Localization refers to, you know, things that are specific to your region, so obviously that's only going to matter to you. And then microtransactions, I don't really do microtransactions. I bought map stash tabs and the currency stash tab and maybe one other thing in PoE 1, but that's all getting transferred over to the new game. If the channel does really well, if the PoE content does really well, you know, you guys help me out with the content on that, maybe we'll start looking into getting some skins, but that's on you guys. As far as the last couple of things they weren't able to get to, the more important one, obviously, is the map waystone stash tabs. That really needs to come out sooner rather than later. I'm kind of avoiding doing a lot of mapping until that happens because I don't want to have to deal with the clutter from that. So they really need to come out with that soon. And then the last thing, this Una's song still not playing correctly. I'm a musician, and while I understand that this is frustrating, this shouldn't be on the list. This shouldn't be on the list of things that they're worried about right now. There's a million other things that are way more important than this one thing. And if this is something that's become difficult for you to fix, then set it aside and go find something else to fix. Because there's no reason for you to be focusing on this. There are bigger fish to fry than Una's song playing properly. I understand somebody put time and effort into making the song, and you guys want it to have some ambiance and everything, but realistically, even as a musician, I can't place this as a high priority. Whoever's working on this, put them on something more important. This is not, don't need to fixate on this. So anyways, that's the list of fixes that are coming for the game. Like I said, I was focusing on the things that, you know, really affect me the most because it's the only thing I can talk about. I can't talk about a bunch of other things that never happened to me or I haven't fought or whatever. So hopefully that helped you out. If you want to read the entire list of notes, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description so you can come here and read this yourself. But yeah, those are the notes. They're coming today. And hopefully it'll make the game way better. So thanks for watching. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks. Or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with that thanks button. Also have PayPal and Patreon links in the description if you would rather go outside of the YouTube economy to help out with supporting the channel. So again, thanks for watching. Come back for future videos, and I'll see you then.